Next Level Soul Publishing presents The Spirit of the Upanishads by Yogi Ramacharaka. Read by William Sterling. To those who seek, who yearn, who hunger for the ineffable, the spirit of the Upanishads is not so much a book as it is a doorway. It does not demand to be understood in the conventional sense, for it is not merely a collection of words, but an unraveling of reality itself, one whisper at a time. The Upanishads, those ancient distillations of India's most luminous wisdom, have endured across millennia, not because they instruct, but because they awaken. What is it, after all, that you seek? Knowledge? Power? Freedom? Look closely, and you will find that even these are only shadows cast by a far greater light, the quiet realization of what you have always been. This book is for the one who has begun to suspect that behind the great masquerade of forms and names, behind all the joys and sorrows of the world, there is a silence that is alive. The Upanishads whisper of this silence. They do not shout, nor do they argue. They simply point. And now, with the Next Level Soul Edition, you are invited to step further in. This special edition not only preserves the timeless poetry of the Upanishads, but also serves as a guide for the modern seeker, offering chapter summaries, key insights, and practical action items, tools to integrate these revelations into your daily life. It is one thing to read wisdom, it is quite another to embody it. The secret hidden in plain sight. There is a peculiar game that the universe plays. It hides itself in everything, disguised as trees, rivers, the hum of traffic, the flicker of candlelight, the laughter of a child. And the grandest joke of all is that the seeker is none other than the sought. This is what the Upanishads have been whispering for ages. They tell us that the nature of reality is not a thing, but a knowing, not a destination, but a realization. The self, or Atman, is not something you acquire like a trinket at a marketplace. It is something you remember. And in remembering, the illusion of separation dissolves like mist in the morning sun. You are not separate from the great dance of existence, not a mere spectator on the sidelines of creation. You are the rhythm, the movement, the pulse of the universe itself. And yet, our minds are tricksters, conjuring up every possible reason to remain in the dream of separation. I am only a person, we say. I am this body, this history, this bundle of anxieties and desires. The Upanishads smile at this. They say, "Are you sure?" A roadmap for the soul. To navigate this text is to traverse a landscape where time and space dissolve into the immediacy of now. The chapters explore the threshold of being, the nature of the absolute, the illusion of the ego self, the path of liberation, and the cosmic rhythms of karma and devotion. But wisdom alone does not set one free. The Next Level Soul Edition of this masterpiece offers you a practical compass. Chapter summaries, to distill the core message of each section, making the abstract more tangible. Key takeaways, the hidden gems of wisdom extracted for clarity and contemplation. Actionable insights, real-world applications to weave these ancient truths into the tapestry of your daily existence. It is not enough to know that the ocean is vast. You must taste its salt on your tongue. Likewise, it is not enough to intellectualize the teachings of the Upanishads. You must live them. And living them is not about escaping into monastic solitude, but about bringing the sacred into the mundane, the infinite into the finite. The doorway is open. As you embark on this journey, I ask you to leave behind all certainty. Certainty is the mind's final refuge against the unknown, the last barricade against awakening. Instead, I invite you to rest in the not knowing, to feel the rhythm of these words in your bones, and to listen for the space between them. The sages of the Upanishads do not seek to convince you. They merely remind you of what you already know. So let us begin. Let us step beyond the veil. Let us remember. Preface. This volume is a collection of texts, aphorisms, sayings, proverbs, etc., from the Upanishads, or sacred writings of India, compiled and adapted from over 50 authorities, expressing the cream of the Hindu philosophical thought. The adapter of the book acknowledges his appreciation of the work of Dr. Manal N. Divivedi of Bombay, India, the original translator of many of these aphorisms, etc., the general form of whose translation has been followed in the majority of cases, subject to such supplementary changes and rearrangement as have seemed desirable in the present work. The contents of this book are self-explanatory and need little introduction. The wonderful philosophy of the Upanishads is so generally recognized that words of praise would be superfluous. Many can say with the German philosopher Schopenhauer, "In the whole world there is no study so beneficial and so elevating as that of the Upanishads. It has been the solace of my life. It will be the solace of my death." One word of caution we would give to the reader who may not be grounded in the fundamental thought of the Hindu philosophies. We allude to the frequent use of the words the self or self in many of the aphorisms. The student of the Oriental teachings will, of course, recognize the fact that the word self, so used, implies the one self, or infinite one, whose essence permeates the universe, and in whom all living forms live and move and have their being, and which self is the essence of the countless personal selves. We have used the capital S in the word when so used, the word self, meaning the personal self, being printed in the usual way. The thought and teachings underlying this entire book is that of this one self, the only reality. The personal self is a thing of the moment, being born, growing old, and dying. But the real self endureth forever. The real self in each of us is the Spirit in each of us, which is at one with the Father. Nearly every aphorism in the book emphasizes this truth, in various words and forms of expression, and many of them are intended to lead the reader to a realization of the truth. Some of these seed thoughts will appeal to one, and others to another. Each will draw to himself that which is his, and will let the rest pass him by. This is the law of learning. Accept only that which appeals to your heart, as truth. Let the rest pass you by for the time being, for to each comes his own, and none can gain his own until he is prepared for it. The words of the Yoga Vasishtha, quoted on our title page, intended to convey this same truth. Listen to this aphorism of the wise. Hear thou even the little child, and from his words accept thou that truth that goeth straight to thy heart. But reject all that doth not so go to thy heart as truth, no matter how high the authority. Yea, even though the lotus-born Creator, Brahma, himself, be the speaker. Therefore, accept the pearl of truth, even though it lie in the mud of the gutter, and reject that which does not seem to be the real truth, even though it be offered you from the hand of one of the gods. Test all statement of truth by the light of the Spirit within you, and you cannot stray far from the path. We would call the attention of our readers to the edition of the Bhagavad Gita, or Message of the Master, published simultaneously with the present volume. This first-mentioned book should be read by all who enjoy the present one, for it contains the key to the higher teachings, which the writers of these aphorisms wished to express. We trust that this little book will cause the minds of many to unfold to the light. The Yogi Publication Society. Chicago, Illinois, USA, January 12, 1907. Chapter 1. The Threshold. That wherein disappears the whole of that which affects the mind, and that which is also the background of all, to that I bow, the all-eternal consciousness, the witness of all exhibitions of the intellect. Upanishads. As is the sight of the sweetest honey to the traveler in the desert, so is the perception of the ever-effulgent. Upanishad. I expound in half a verse what has been told in 1,000,000 volumes. That is the truth. The world is illusion. The soul is none other than that. Action leads to incarnation, and incarnation to pleasure and pain. Hence arise all likes and dislikes, which again propel to action, resulting in merit and demerit. These put the ignorant wanderer, again, into the bonds of incarnation. And so on, forever, rolls the wheel of this world. Nothing but ignorance is the cause of all this. The remedy lies in the destruction of ignorance. Knowledge of Brahman is the way to find final beatitude in the destruction of this ignorance. For knowledge alone, not action, which is only a part of ignorance, is competent to accomplish this result. Nor is it possible to do away with likes and dislikes so long as ignorance is not done away with. This is therefore undertaken with the object of destroying ignorance as well as its effects, this world, and also of explaining the real philosophy of Brahman. Upanishads. From the senses finding each its own gratification in the objects peculiar to each, there arises no real happiness, but only a temporary allaying of the fever of the mind. It is vain, therefore, to grope for any real happiness in the world of objects. The deluded deceive themselves by imagining every experience of evil to be so much good. But in birth, death, and limitation, the wise never fail to perceive the evil that conceals itself under the inviting form of objects. They find no happiness in things subject to such results. The smallest happiness, in the real sense of the word, is no way possible in anything. Oh, I should become that self which is all bliss, all existence, all enlightenment. Atma Purana. Knowledge of the divine dissolves all bonds and gives freedom from every kind of misery, including birth and death. Savetas Vataropanishad. The Creator, Brahma, the Protector, Vishnu, the Destroyer, Siva, the Consumer, the Sun, the Moon, the Thunder, the Wind, the Sacrifice, and so on, are terms used by the sages to describe the One Eternal, as they look at it through the multifarious forms of the intellect. All my best worship to that divine essence, the destroyer of that ignorance whose form is this world. Sankaracharya. Summary. The journey begins at the doorstep of realization. The Upanishads invite the seeker to step beyond ordinary perception and into the deeper reality of the self. Here, we are asked to loosen our grip on conditioned beliefs and prepare for the dissolution of illusion. Key takeaways. Truth is not something to be found outside. It is something to be remembered within. The greatest obstacle to awakening is the belief that we are separate from what we seek. Question everything, but most importantly, question the nature of the self you assume to be real. Action. Items. Spend a few moments in silence each day, asking, who am I beyond my name, my roles, and my past? Notice where you are most attached to identity. Do you define yourself by your work, relationships, or achievements? Observe without judgment. Read this chapter before meditation to set the tone for deep contemplation. Chapter 2. The Absolute. That should be known as Brahman, which, beyond the gaining whereof, there remains nothing to gain. Beyond the bliss whereof, there remains no possibility of bliss. Beyond the sight whereof, there remains nothing to see. Beyond becoming which there remains nothing to become. Beyond knowing which there remains nothing to know. Atma Bodha. This is all, and so is that. All comes out of the all. Taking away the all from the all remains forever. Upanishad. He is eternal among the eternal, conscious among the conscious. He, ever one, produces the variety of ideas in the many. Knowing that Divine One, as the supreme cause, all bonds dissolve themselves into nothing. Savetas Vataropanishad. That which, in the beginning, sent forth the Creator, Brahma, and favored him with the storehouse of all knowledge, the Veda. I, desirous of liberation, betake myself to it, the ever-effulgent light, revealing its eternal self through the intellect. Savetas Vataropanishad. As in the sun, all light, there is neither day nor night, so in the Absolute, all light, there is neither knowledge nor ignorance. Upadesasahasri. The ever-unchangeable is devoid of sound, touch, form, taste, or smell. It is without beginning or end, ever beyond the prime cause of all evolution, knowing that one escapes the all-devouring jaws of death. Kathopanishad. The eye has no access there, nor has speech nor mind. We do not know it, the Absolute, nor the method whereby we can impart it. It is other than the known as well as the unknown. So indeed do we hear from the sages of old who explained it thus to us. Kenopanishad. Try to realize, within thyself, that whence arise these beings, by which they stand sustained, and unto which they return and become naught. That indeed is the Absolute. Taittiriyopanishad. To the emperor, Janaka, thus explained Yajnavalkya. When there is, as it were, a second, there alone does one see, smell, or taste something other than self. There alone does one speak to or hear, think of or touch, or know something other than self. But when the seer is all alone with that, he is as still as an undisturbed body of water. This indeed is spiritual consciousness, the condition of universal empire. This to the self is the highest end, the best riches, the supremest world, the greatest joy. The rest of beings live only by a particle of this bliss. Brihadaranyaka. Father, Son, Mother, nay, even the worlds, the gods, the Vedas, are all naught in the Absolute. The thief is no thief, the ascetic no ascetic. It has no relation with good or evil. One who has become it is beyond all desires of the heart. It should not be supposed that, even in sleep, it does not see, for it does not see though ever seeing. The sight of the seer is never lost. Being eternal, there is nothing other than itself, which it can make the object of its seeing. Brihadaranyaka. The Absolute is described as not this, not that, and so on by negatives only. Brihadaranyaka. That is real bliss which has no conditions. In the conditioned, there can be no happiness. The unconditioned alone is bliss. Try to realize the unconditioned in thyself. Chandogyopanishad. That is the unconditioned, wherein one does not see another, one does not hear another, one does not know another. That wherein one sees another, hears another, knows another, is the conditioned. The unconditioned is immortal. The conditioned is mortal. O Master, where is this unconditioned to be found? Everywhere or nowhere. Chandogyopanishad. Hence is described the real self. This self alone stands above, below, west, east, south, and north. Everywhere all is this self. He who thus sees, thinks, and knows, enjoys this self, plays with this self, has this self alone even for a second, finds perfect bliss in this self, becomes the Lord of all, gains access to all worlds and beings. Those who understand otherwise betake themselves to other masters, enjoy only the mortal world of conditions, find no access to all beings and all worlds. Chandogya Upanishad, that which is ever awake even in sleep, sending forth the variety of ideas, is the real self, and all immortality. All the worlds are held in it, as it were in suspension. There is nothing which transcends it. It is this: as the one fire pervading the universe appears in so many forms in the variety of objects, so the inner self of all, ever one, appears to take on so many forms, but it is ever beyond them. As the sun who enlightens everything has nothing whatever to do with the numerous ills the eye may perceive, so the inner self of all, ever one, has no connection whatever with the joys and sorrows of the world, being ever beyond them. Kathopanishad. That is the real witness, all consciousness, who unites in one grasp the actor, act, and the variety of objects apart one from the other. I see, hear, smell, taste, and touch. In this form does the witness unite all in one continuous consciousness, even like the lamp suspended in a theater. The lamp in the theater takes in the master, the audience, the actors, and all, without distinction, in one sweep of light, and continues to shed the same light, even when all these are not there. Panchadasi. The seer of thy sight thou shalt not see, the hearer of thy ear thou shalt not hear, the thinker of thy thoughts thou shalt not think, the knower of thy knowledge thou halt not know. This is thy real self, all-pervading. Everything besides is but mortal. Upanishad. Without the glass, there is no possibility of a sight of the reflection. Whence then could there be any possibility of the knowledge of name and forms without assuming that which is existence, consciousness, and bliss? Panchadasi. He pervades the earth and yet transcends it. The earth knows him not. The earth is his body. He controls the earth from within. He is thy inner self, ever immortal. He pervades water and yet transcends it. Water knows him not. Water is his body. He controls water from within. He is thy inner self, ever immortal. He is the unseen seer, the unheard hearer, the unthought thinker, the unknown knower. There is no seer other than this, no hearer other than this, no thinker other than this, no knower other than this. That is thy inner self, ever immortal. All beside is mortal. Upanishad. That which is not spoken in speech, but that whereby all speech is spoken. That which does not think in the mind, but that whereby the mind proceeds to think. That which does not perceive with the eye, but that whereby the eye receives its sight. That which does not hear with the ear, but that whereby the ear hears. That which does not breathe the breath of life, but that whereby life itself is kept up. Know thou that that is the Absolute, not this that people worship. Upanishad. Immortal spirit alone is that. The east, west, south, and north is all that. This wide expanse of the universe above and below is indeed all that. Upanishad. In the beginning, O good one, was the Absolute alone, all one without a second. Chandogya Upanishad. Brahma, Indra, Prajapati, all the gods, the 5 primordial elements, and all that breathes, or moves about, or flies above, or stands unmoved. The whole universe exists through thought, depends on thought. Thought is its stay. The thought of the Absolute. Upanishad. This real self is all intellect, all mind, all life, all eyes, all ears, all earth, all water, all wind, all ether, all light, all darkness, all desires, all peacefulness, all anger, all quiet, all religious merit, all religious demerit. It is the all, it is this, it is that. Upanishad. This real self is causeless, without a second, having no within and without. This self is the absolute, the consciousness of all. Upanishad. O Gargi, this immutable one is the unseen seer, the unheard hearer, the unthought thinker, the unknown knower. There is no seer beside this, no hearer beside this, no thinker, no knower beside this. In this immutable essence, O dear Gargi, is interwoven the essence of all existence. Upanishad. He, Yajnavalkya, said, O Gargi, the knowers of the Absolute thus explain the ever-immutable. It is neither with dimensions nor atomic, neither short nor long. It is not red, not sticky, not light, not dark, neither air nor ether. It has no relation, no taste, no smell, no eye, no ear, no speech, no mind, no light, no life, no mouth, no form, no break, no without. It enjoys nothing or is enjoyed by nothing. Upanishad. Objects transcend the senses. The mind transcends objects. The intellect transcends the mind. The Mahat, i.e., cosmic consciousness, transcends intellect, i.e., individual intellect. The Avyakta, i.e., the undifferenced first cause, transcends the Mahat. The real self transcends the Avyakta. Beyond the real self, there is nothing which can transcend it, or prevent it from being the last essence, the last resort of all. Kathopanishad. That is the great real self, who, though without hands or feet, is the swiftest of approach. Though without eyes or ears, sees and hears everything. Though uncomprehended, comprehends everything knowable. Svetasvataropanishad. The Absolute is never born, never dead. It comes out of nothing and goes into nothing. It is unborn, eternal, immutable, ever unique, never destroyed with the destruction of the body. If the killer intends to kill, or if the killed thinks he is killed, both of them do not know. They neither kill nor are killed. It is smaller than an atom, greater than the universe. It is present in the heart of all beings. The glory of this self is realized by him, the whole of whose sensibility returns to a state of placid calmness through absence of desire. He alone passes to the other side of this ocean of sin and sorrow. Kathopanishad. Truth alone conquers, not falsehood. The divine path stands upheld by truth. Sages with desires put out by satiety pass over it to the great treasure of truth. It, the truth, is all-embracing yet unthinkable, all light, minutest of the minute yet ever manifest. It is farthest of all yet ever near in all beings, ever present in the hidden consciousness of all which passes out in all acts of mind and body. Mundakopanishad. One so freed from the bondage of senses transcends all material relation, and becoming all supreme light, regains his own self. This indeed is self. It is beyond mortality, beyond fear. It is truth. Truth is only another name of the Absolute. Chandogyopanishad. There cannot be any room for separateness in that intransmutable, formless, characterless, absolute being which is beyond the relations of subject, object, instrument, etc., which is every way full to the utmost, like the waters surging above all things at the great cyclic deluge. In it merges the cause of illusion, like darkness in light. There, verily, can be nothing like separateness in it, the highest essence, without character, and ever one without a second. Viveka Chudamani. That is the form of the highest self, wherein the world of subject and object, though existing, does not exist, and which, though all akasa, has no touch with it. It is all void, and yet as if it were no void, the world is not in it. It continues to be completely void, though full of numberless worlds upon worlds. Yoga Vasishtha. The whole of this cosmos is one self. There is no room for the idea of body and its like. That is all that is, all bliss. Whatever thou seest is all thought. Yoga Vasishtha. As light belongs to the sun, coldness to water, and heat to fire, so do existence, consciousness, bliss, eternity, immutable purity, belong by nature to that. Atma Bodha. The material cause of this illusion is none other than that. The whole of the universe is, therefore, that, and nothing else. That being the all, causality is mere illusion. The real truth being thus known, there can be no room for the slightest separateness. Aparokshanubhuti. This real self is the bridge, the support of the whole universe, which, but for it, will be nowhere. Chandogyopanishad. That is all bliss of every kind. Attaining this bliss, one realizes his nature, which is all bliss. Taittiriyopanishad. That therefore is the last measure of all bliss. Taittiriyopanishad. The one ever effulgent stands concealed in all beings. It pervades every knowable object, and is the inner self of all. It is the witness of all action, the all-embracing resort of beings, the unaffected seer, all thought, unique, and without properties. Svetasvataropanishad. It has neither form nor instruments. It is not seen as equal to or greater than anything. Its transcendent power is heard of as unimaginably multifarious. Omniscience and omnipotence constitute its very nature. Svetasvataropanishad. It is unborn, ever awake, free from dream, having no form or no name. It is one continuous thought, all-knowing. There is no metaphor whatever in saying this. Gaudapadacharya. This, O Satyakama, is that higher as well as lower. Science and nescience all is that. Prajnapanishad. As above so below, as below so above. He passes from death to death, who here finds the least shadow of variety. There is no variety in that. It should be grasped by the mind alone. He indeed passes from death to death, who here finds the least shadow of variety. Kathopanishad. As a hawk or an eagle having soared high in the air, wings its way back to its resting place, being so far fatigued, so does the soul, having experienced the phenomenal, return into itself, where it can sleep beyond all desires, beyond all dreams. Brihadaranyakapanishad. The sun does not shine there, nor the moon, nor the stars, nor even these lightnings, least of all this fire. Everything becomes enlightened in its light. The whole of this shines through its luster. Kathopanishad. Summary. This chapter explores Brahman, the infinite, formless, eternal essence that underlies all existence. It teaches that reality is not dual, but singular, and that all things, from the vast cosmos to the smallest atom, are expressions of the same ultimate consciousness. Key takeaways. The Absolute is beyond perception, yet it is the source of all perception. You are not a fragment of existence. You are existence itself, temporarily appearing as an individual. Everything that changes is an illusion. The changeless alone is real. Action items. Reflect on moments in your life when you felt completely at peace. What was absent in those moments? Throughout your day, remind yourself, I am not just in the universe is in me. Meditate on the phrase neti, neti. Not this, not that. Mentally discarding all impermanent things to sense what remains. Chapter 3. The real self. A particle of its bliss supplies the bliss of the whole universe. Everything becomes enlightened in its light. Nay, all else appears worthless after a sight of that essence. I am indeed of this supreme eternal self. The power of sun, moon, fire, and even of speech having exhausted itself, the senses being all extinguished, that which stands self-illumined, beyond all relations, sending forth this universe of ideas and all thought, is shown to be the inner self of all. Svarajasiddhi. I am without character, without action, without imagination, without relation, without change, without form, without sin, all eternity, ever liberated. Atma Bodha. If thou objectest how I should grasp this, pray do not grasp it. For the residuum after all grasping is at end, is none other than thy real self. Panchadasi. Where is the man who doubts the fact of his own existence? If such a one be found, he should be told that he himself, who thus doubts, is the self he denies. Svatma Nirupana. No other knowledge is necessary in knowing oneself, for the self is all knowledge. The lamp requires not the light of another lamp for its own illumination. Setting aside everything which becomes the object of knowledge in this world, there yet remains a residuum, the real essence of knowledge. The knowledge that this is the real self is true knowledge of the self. Panchadasi. It is the ear of ears, the mind of minds, the speech of speech, the breath of breaths, the eye of eyes. The wise transcending these, i.e., the physical ear, mind, etc., and renouncing this world of experience, rest in eternal immortality. Kenopanishad. This self in my heart is smaller than a grain of rice or barley or mustard, smaller than a grain of the siyamaka, or even than a part of its part. And yet, this self in my heart is bigger than the earth, more extensive than the atmosphere, wider than the sky, greater than all these worlds together. It is all action, all desire, all smell, all taste. It pervades all that is. It is void of speech and all other senses, ever indifferent to good or evil. This indeed is the self in my heart. This indeed is the real self. He becomes this real self after passing away from here, who has faith in the self and has no doubt whatever. Chandogyopanishad. All this is the one self. This self is the universal self. Mandukyopanishad. As the fool with eyes all bedimmed sees the sun all dark, though covered only with a cloud, so does it appear in bondage only to the victims of illusion. I am this pure self, whose form is all eternal consciousness. Hastamalakastotra. It is the one pervading all, but ever untouched by any, and therefore ever pure and all clear, like the all-pervading akasa. I am this pure self, whose form is all eternal consciousness. Hastamalakastotra. It is without mind, without eyes, without any similar means of relating itself to the objective. But nevertheless, it is the mind as well as the eye of all minds and all eyes, nay, the means of means, its form being ever incomprehensible by the mind, the eyes, and the rest. I am this pure self, all eternal consciousness. Hastamalakastotra. I am indeed that supreme eternal real self which is all bliss, all light, beyond illusion, beyond conditions, realizable only in the idea, I am. Vijnananauka. It is this infinite atom. All this is that self from end to end. It is the truth. It is the self. O Shvetaketu, thou art that. Chandogyopanishad. As a lump of salt melted in water cannot be experienced by the eye, but only by the tongue, so indeed the ever-existent real self, shining in the depth of the heart, cannot be realized by the external senses, but only by the light of that sympathetic awakening which comes from the word of a teacher. Thou indeed art this real self, not the phenomenal that appears around. Svaraja Siddhi, the ocean transformed through the action of clouds into the form of rivers, etc., ceases to be itself. So indeed hast thou forgotten thyself through the power of conditions. O friend, remember thy full self, thou art the real self, the ground of existence, the all. Svaraja Siddhi. Where there is anything like duality, there alone does one see another. There alone does one smell another. There alone does one hear another. There alone does one speak to another. There alone does one think of another. There alone does one know another. But when all is one self to him, what should he smell? And with what? What should he see? And with what? What should he hear? And with what? What should he speak of? And with what? What should he think of? And with what? What should he know? And with what? By what indeed should that be known through, which knows everything? By what should the knower be known? Brihadaranya Upanishad. It is not attainable by the most constant attendance at lectures. For many, though hearing numerous such, never know what it is. Strange indeed is the speaker who speaks of it, stranger still who obtains it. But most strange of all is he who, being properly instructed by a competent teacher, realizes it in himself and all. Summary. This chapter differentiates between the personal ego and the real self, Atman. The personal self is fleeting, bound by time and circumstance, while the true self is eternal and unchanging. Key takeaways. The ego is a temporary mask worn by the infinite self. What you think you are is not what you truly are. The real self is beyond thought, emotion, and identity. It is pure awareness. Action items. Spend a day observing your thoughts as if they belong to someone else. Who is witnessing them? Before sleeping, remind yourself, I am not my body. I am not my mind. I am pure awareness. Engage in mirror meditation. Look into your eyes and ask, who is looking?
To continue listening, step deeper into the wisdom at Next Level Soul TV, where sacred teachings, spiritual cinema, transformative courses, and divine stories await your soul's unfolding. Enter the portal at www.nextlevelsoul.tv and let your spirit remember what it already knows. Awaken, expand, and evolve.